In this video, you'll be creating this. Welcome back everyone. I'm excited to start creating auto layout. Now this is where the fun begins. This video will allow you get a quick dive into what auto layout is. However, if you want to learn everything about auto layout, I've created a playlist where I've explained everything from scratch to the end, where you learn exactly everything you need to know about auto layout. The link to the playlist is in the description below, so I would recommend that you watch that if you really want to know everything auto layout entails. Now it's time to unlearn and relearn everything. So we are not going to be working with groups or grouping majorly anymore. We are now going to be working with auto layout frames. To get started, let's convert our navigation into auto layout. So the first thing I want you to do is to select the navigation. I'm going to press Shift Command and then press G 3 times to totally ungroup the layers. Now select every element of the nav list. That's the about, portfolio, gallery, and contacts. You come to where you have auto layout in the properties panel here and press the plus icon. It automatically adds a frame to your auto layout elements. So now how do you know there's already auto layout added to this? You can just click the about alone and then use your right arrow key to move the about around. Now you can see that if you do the same thing with portfolio, it moves around without having to ungroup and regroup anything. That's fast. Now the next thing I want you to do is to select the same nav list and then select the logo, press Shift A. Another way to add the auto layout frame to an auto layout element is by pressing Shift A. That's after selecting that particular element. Now one way to actually show you that we've added a frame or a background to this is that you can come to fill here and then click on the plus. Where we have FFF, just change it to any color you want. Now look at that. Look at the background now. So it means we've added an auto layout frame to the nav list, and then we've added an auto layout to the nav list and logo. So what that means now is that if I select the logo, I can switch places between the logo and the nav list. Look at, by just clicking my right arrow key once, I have just been able to move logo to the right and nav list to the left. So I'm going to return it now. Now I'm just going to rename things. Select the nav list, rename the frame nav list. That's navigation list. Then the same thing with the logo. Yeah, it's logo, so there might be no need to rename that. The next thing is to take note of this background. We have the background as 1440 by 98. So just move out the background quickly. Now we'll select the logo and the nav list. Let's rename these nav items. Now that we have this, so you can understand, we have a frame that holds the about, portfolio, gallery, and contacts. That's the nav list. And then we have a frame that holds both the logo and the nav list together, and that's the nav items. So now what I want is another frame that will now serve as background. So I'm just going to press Shift A again to create a background. Now you can see, so it is this background now that I'll work with and make 1440 by 98. The first thing you want to do, where you have this hug, you change it to fixed width. So from here I can change it to 1440 in width, and then change from hug to fixed height and change this to 98. Now see that if I come to fill and press the plus here, it gives it white background. You can see. So now I'll just center my navigation list, align to the top, then center in the middle. Now I can delete this one. So with this, we can select the nav items, come to where you have org context and change it to fill container. So you notice that the entire background now goes from the far left to the far right. So the next thing I want you to do is to come to where we have these 3 dots here and then change the spacing mode from packed to space between. That way we have the about, portfolio, gallery towards the right, and then we have the logo towards the left. Now select the entire frame Now we rename this navigation. Alright, so now we can walk around what is inside this navigation frame. So what happens is that every element inside auto layout frame will be manipulated by the frame that contains it. So now this final frame, which is the navigation, can affect nav items frame, can also affect nav list frame. Now that nav items are together with nav list, so we can just select the major frame, which is the navigation, and come to where we have auto layout alignment and select left alignment in the middle here. Now we can see our logo and nav list are now centered to the middle. Now another thing you want to do is to add spacing between, which is called padding. We want to pad the nav items to actually fit right before this margin. What you just do is to come to where we have left and right padding and add 120. Now look at that. Another way you could have done that is to actually come here and add, click on this, and the left padding you had 120, but you have to do the same thing to the right, which is why we have what we call left and right padding and then up and down padding. So on left and right, I'll just come here and add 120 like I've done before, which gives padding on both sides and makes it 120. Now I'm going to select my nav items and change my color back to white, since the background is white just like in the previous design. With this, I've created a very nice auto layout, and the simple way to test that is by selecting the navigation, come to the edge of the width and then click and drag in. You can see how my nav items are now conforming to the space that is available. Now you can see them moving very smooth. So if I create other screen sizes, I don't need to start on grouping. I can just move things and then everything's set in the right place. Now that's about the navigation. If you have any challenge in seeing the way your nav items are moving around, ensure you click on the nav items frame, and where you have fill, org and fix, make sure it's fill container. It's very important. Now the next thing is the text. We'll start with the name. We can add auto layout to the name directly, but then I want us to add it to the name and the description. So you select the name and then select the description. You press Shift A to add auto layout. You can now press inside to select the description, and instead of fixed, you give it fill container. That way it will be able to respond to the spacing in the environment. Now I'm going to click outside, then click both again. You notice here that the spacing between is 2. If I click and drag this towards the right, notice how the space is increasing, but I don't want to do that. I want to leave it as 2. Now I'm going to select the same text with the button, view portfolio button, go down Shift and select, then press Shift A to make it auto layout. Now notice it has sent my button to the middle. You can just come to where we have auto layout alignment and click on top left alignment, which will send it back to the left. Now the spacing in between, it's okay as 16, but I just want to add, let me say 20. Okay, that's good. Now also I'm going to select where we have the icons, the XD, the sketch and the Figma. Select everything using Shift, then press Shift A to make auto layout. Now with this selected, I can select the text on my view portfolio button and press Shift A for auto layout. The spacing, I'm just going to reduce it from 189 to, let's say, 172. Cool. Now we have this as auto layout. One thing I want to ensure that I do here is to select the frame that holds both the name and the description, and change from all contents to fill container. Of course, because I want it to respond to the environment by the time I start moving things around. I don't really want the button to change, so I'm going to leave it as fixed. Also, I don't want the icons to change, so I can just leave it as all contents. Now I'm going to select the image. If you downloaded this particular image from the link I sent to you, I want you to select the image by the edge, hold down Command or Control on Windows, click and hold and drag down to this edge. Do the same thing for the right, hold down Command, click and hold, drag to the right. Now what I'm doing is I'm trying to reduce the frame size of this image so it can work perfectly when we start doing auto layout. So now that this is done, you select the image and then the text towards the right, and then you press Shift A. Notice how it notched it to the center a little bit, so it helped me determine the exact center. Remember to select the frame that holds this and make fill container. Now select this entire frame. I want you to name this content so you can be able to identify. Now with this selected again, note that this is the frame that holds the picture and this auto layout right here. So I want you to select the entire frame again, which is content, and then press Shift A. This is what we use as the background now. Now I want you to come to where we have org and select fixed width, change that to 1440, which is the original width. With that, I want you to click align horizontal centers. Now look at that, aligned. But then we have a problem. The text is going out of the margin. So what do? We apply simple padding. Now, because of the way things are, we can apply padding to the left, but to the right. By the time this picture comes here, we don't want this picture to be inside the margin. We want it to be towards the right. So what we are going to do is to click on the independent paddings here, and we have the left padding, right padding, top padding, down padding. So for the left alone, we are going to change that to 120. That should work. Look at that. We have our text right on the margin. For the rest, you can just change it to 0, 0, and 0. So we have our text in the margin, and then we have our image where it's supposed to be. So just to show you how it looks like, select the navigation list and the frame that holds the content and drag outside towards the right. Look at that. We have one frame for navigation. We have one for this. So select both navigation and the frame and press Shift A. Now things are balanced up and we have just one frame, which is also 1440. Now this can be fixed with, it doesn't matter, but the content inside has to be fill container. So you do the same thing for the contents here, ensure they are fill container. You can leave the image out, doesn't have to be fill container. Ensure that the one that holds the text and the icons are fill container. The frame that holds the button doesn't have to be fill container or the icons, but then the text, they have to be fill containers. So now select the entire frame, and now we are going to give it our color. So where we have fill, you click plus, and then you come to the color, select the eyedropper tool, and then click this yellow color we have here, or just enter FFAA00. Now look at that, we have our auto layout frame. To test that, you are going to select the frame towards the right, click on the right edge, and then move. Oops, the text is still not moving, but then the navigation is moving. So what happens? We have to select to see what is wrong. Now we need the text itself to fill this particular container. You notice this container is moving, yeah, but then the text within it is not moving. So what we'll do is to click inside. Yes, it is filled this way. Where we have all here, you change it to fill container. Do the same thing for the frame that holds the name. From all, we change to fill container. Now you can see everything is responding. So if I click on my frame, the entire frame again, and then I select the frame and start moving things, you see how it's moving and everything is responding. Very, very sweet. This is nice. So the last thing I want to show you is how you can quickly convert this into different screen sizes. Let's say tablet, iPad, or maybe mobile. Now the reason why you would want to do that is that sometimes when you want to hand over to developers, they would like to see what it looks like when people are viewing from tablet or iPad, or when people are viewing from phone. So to do that, I'm going to create two duplicates of this by using Command D twice. Now I have 3. So the one in the middle, I'm going to select that and change the width to 1024, which is iPad size. And then the one towards the right, I'm going to change it to 390, which is for iPhone. Okay, cool. Now look at that. So it looks scattered, but now we just need to move one or two things, which is actually faster than ungrouping, aligning your items and then grouping again. So the first thing you might want to do is to select the navigation. We have 120 as the padding, the left and right padding, but because it's a smaller screen, we can set that to 80. So now we can use more of the space towards the left and the right. Another thing you might want to consider is to reduce the image, because it's also a smaller screen now, so it should be a smaller image. Just reduce it a little bit. Yeah, I think that is cool. Yeah. Now we might want to select the entire frame that holds this content here. Right above the content, we have this frame that holds the content. Set the margin from 120 left padding to 80 as well, so it aligns with this, and also we get to work with more space. So with that done, automatically look at, I have a very nice design. Now this is how it responds. See how quick and easy that is. I might just want to close up space a little bit here. Okay, just select this frame that holds the name and the name button, description and the icon. Instead of 172 here, you select and change it to, let's say, 150, or maybe even more, maybe even 120. Okay, better. Look at that. Look at how it responds compared to the bigger screen. Can see? So people on iPad might see it like this. Now finally, the mobile. With quick clicks, we can just quickly make things look okay. Click on the navigation. First of all, we are going to change the left and right padding to 16. Okay. Secondly, we are going to select the nav items. Double click and select the nav items. Now in auto layout, the frames are either aligned on horizontal direction or on vertical direction. Because the logo and the nav list frame are aligned next to each other on an horizontal line, they are overlapping each other now that the frame size they are working with is now small. So what we want to do is to select the nav items, and instead of making them horizontal alignments, we can turn them to vertical direction. Now, okay, you don't know what's going on here. That's because the spacing in between the vertical direction is 7:12. You might want to reduce that to 16, and let's see. Cool. You can see now we have logo on top, we have the nav items below. Another thing is the contact is coming out, so it's not working with the frame. You just need to select this and change from all content to fill container. If it doesn't work, that is because the spacing in between them is too much. So select the nav list in between, come here and change the space to auto. What will happen when you change it to auto is that they will share the space equally and then fill within this frame. Now I'm going to set that to auto. It's the same thing as coming down here, click on the 3 dots and then select space between. Now everything works inside that frame. But then I think this is too big because it's now mobile. You have to be able to change the size. So select all elements, about, portfolio, gallery and contact. We are going to change from 18 to 14. Now it looks better. The next thing you want to do is to select the frame that has contents inside, and then first of all I want us to change the margin from 120 to 16. Yes. Now you're going to select the contents inside the frame, contents, and then change from horizontal direction to vertical direction. Now things are beginning to look nice already. Click back on the frame and set the top padding to maybe, let's see, 40. Cool. Select the frame that house the text and the icons and change that to 140. So cool. Now with this, the next thing you might want to do is to try to reduce the size of the image. So you click on the image and then you press shift and click to resize down to where we have the frame, something like this exactly. Very nice. Look at how quick that is. Now we have too much space in between this portfolio and the icon, so select the frame where you have the icons and the view portfolio button with the text here. Click in between where you have this 72 and change that to, let's see, 120. No, that's way too small. Let's just drag up and see. All right, I think it's nice this way. Cool. Look at how fast that is. Another thing you might want to do is, if you don't like the positioning of the icon here, just select the icon. Make sure you are selecting the three icons together. Click and drag outside. Just drop right below the image here. It goes below the image instead of above the image. You can select the entire frame. You can select the contents frame now and just increase the spacing between the image and the button. Cool. Now everything looks arranged, but then sorts to the left. Another thing you might do is to try to arrange things in the center if that looks better. Let's start by selecting the content itself and then come to where we have this alignment and select center alignment, which centers our icon with the image. Finally, just increase the height so we can have space below here. And we have the mobile, we have the tablet, and we have the desktop. So look at that. If you've been watching from the beginning of this playlist till now, congratulations, you have seen the entire Figma for Beginners series, and you are no more a beginner. You can now move to the next level. Congratulations. If you want to know more about Autolayout, I'll leave a link in the description below where I've explained everything about Autolayout. I recommend that you watch that playlist because there I have explained everything that I did not explain in this video. Everything is now explained in that series. So I guess I'll see you in Figma Autolayout.